A volley of gunshots fired at an Oshawa housing complex. Durham police say it's lucky no one was hurt.
Good afternoon. We'll get to that story in just a moment. But first, a major downtown intersection remains closed this afternoon, causing commuter confusion.
It comes after a garbage truck hit an overhead wire and a light pole. CTV's Mike Walker is live with more on how long the closure is expected to last. Mike.
Well, Nathan Michelle, the TTC says the streetcar infrastructure here is complex. As you can see, crews are continuing to conduct the repairs. The intersection still fully closed. It's work that will take a long time, the TTC says. At this point, the closure expected to last the rest of the week. It's all hands on deck. Crews have been working around the clock. Right now, the TTC tells us its engineers are still assessing the damage and salvaging what wires they can. Then they'll begin installing new wires and will then have to test the system to ensure it's safe. It was during yesterday's morning rush hour that the garbage truck with a bin raised down the overhead streetcar wires. The circumstances that led to this still not clear. As a result, Spadina is closed between Adelaide and Front. King is closed between Brant and Charlotte. Several streetcar routes are impacted. The Spadina, King, and Lakeshore streetcars all detouring around the area. It's adding time to the commute. Many transit riders we've been speaking with opting to walk instead. Here's more.
The 504 was actually rerouted, so I had to actually walk for 15 minutes.
I work in Mississauga, so I have to take the longer route all the way, and I've been walking for 10 minutes. 20 minutes late now.
Still doing the assessment because, as you can see, there's a lot of intricate pieces that go into this structure. It's not just the cabling, it's the suspension, it's the tension that keeps the cables tight. They have to go through and look at all of that, and at that intersection there's a lot of infrastructure to check. So they're still doing that work, and then they'll start restoring things as they can.
As for the garbage truck driver involved, Toronto police tell us at this point no charges have been laid. Repairs will continue at the intersection of King and Spadina throughout the day and around the clock. The TTC tells us the likelihood this intersection will reopen is potentially Friday evening. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Returning now to a police investigation in Oshawa. A residential stretch is closed after shots were fired.
Police say the call came in early this morning and they've since shut down the road near the scene. Our John Musselman is live with the very latest. John, what can you tell us?
Well, Michelle, I can tell you the road has reopened. As you can see, traffic moving behind me. Now, this happened in the townhouse complex behind me. We're told at least 14 shots rang out around 2 o'clock this morning. The concerning thing for police here is that at least 2 of the bullets entered above a unit where a family was last night. Now, police say thankfully no one was hit, but the police chief here is quite concerned about this gun violence, even posting on social media that the shooters here are cowardly. This was a cowardly act, and he's quite concerned about the gun violence in this region. We did speak to Durham Regional Police this morning. Here's what they had to tell us.
Our community is shaken by this incident, and we are taking it incredibly seriously, and we are investigating it. We are appealing to anybody to please come forward as a witness or any video footage. There were no physical injuries reported, and again, the child was not home at the time of this incident.
And we have seen some of the bullet holes in the building behind me. Police say anyone with information is asked to contact them or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live in Oshawa, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Peel police are investigating after shots were fired at a home in Brampton. Police say they were called to a home on Senwood Street near McLaughlin and Sandalwood Parkway just after 2:30 this morning. Police confirmed that a home has been struck by bullets several times. The residents were at home, but no one was injured. Police are looking for more surveillance video from the area.
2 teenagers are in hospital following a shooting in Scarborough. This happened shortly before 8:30 last night in the area of Lawrence Avenue and Orton Park Road. Police say the 2 teens were found with gunshot wounds and taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. A light-colored vehicle was spotted leaving the scene.
Sometime between 8:15 and 8:20, we had the 2 teens that were standing at the TTC bus stop here at Orton Park Road and Lawrence Avenue East by the gas station, when what is described as a white SUV traveled eastbound through the gas station and opened fire on the 2 teens. The white SUV fled eastbound on Lawrence Avenue East.
Police have not provided any information on possible suspects. They're asking anyone with information to come forward.
And one person's in hospital following a shooting in Etobicoke. It happened shortly after 5 p.m. yesterday near Dixon Road and Kent Royal Drive. Police responded to reports of a vehicle being shot at. They say the victim was dropped off at a hospital by an unknown person. The victim's injuries are considered non-life threatening, and police have not provided any details on possible suspects. They're asking anyone with information to come forward. Still ahead, 2 additional suspects have been charged in connection with the disappearance and death of a Markham real estate agent. Details coming up a little later in the newscast.
We'll get to more news in a moment, but first, let's take a live look at the city this afternoon as we take our first look at the forecast. And you can see, looking a bit foggy there, not much in the way of sunshine. It's already been unsettled, and today looking rather unsettled. And one interesting thing is the temperature. It's mild, but it's going to cool down. Let's bring in Jessica Smith for a peek at the current conditions. What are you expecting?
We are expecting a little wet snow throughout the day. So not the kind of snow that accumulates because it is still relatively mild. A lot of it melting on contact with the ground, but it's kind of wet out there. It's just kind of yucky as you get out there on the road. So just give yourself that extra time. Winds are light right now, but they do pick up at the midpoint of our afternoons. That will kind of impede your vision a little because we're still watching for that wet snow throughout the day. Temperature wise, though, it is really not that bad. We're sitting at 3. The wind chill has it feeling around the freezing mark, but overall we're staying above seasonal, at least to start the day. Right now through the islands over towards Pearson, a bit of a break from some of the active weather, and we're on the positive side. Those westerly winds not bad right now, but they do pick up. Into the day tomorrow, specifically into the evening, we start to see that cool down take place. And after that, it gets cold and it stays cold. Coming up, I'll have your full forecast. Right now, it's back over to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. It is another busy day at City Hall, where Council is meeting for a second straight day.
Among the items on today's agenda, Council's discussing wages for gig workers like rideshare drivers. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live with the very latest. Natalie.
Hi, Nathan, that's right. The discussion here in the chamber today was very much dominated by discussion over wages for rideshare drivers like Uber or Lyft. This is really an offshoot discussion from a broader debate over whether to impose a cap on the number of licenses for rideshare drivers. Now, you'll remember that last week the mayor's executive decided to shelve that plan, but there continued to be a push from the administration to examine the amount of money that rideshare drivers make. A city staff report had indicated that it worked out to be less than $6 an hour after expenses if you're accounting for all time spent on the app, not just while driving or engaged time. The Uber had disputed that data. The mayor has argued that the province needs to do more to address the wage structure for gig workers to ensure that they can make a living wage. Her critics arguing, though, that provincial legislation is already coming into effect on this topic, and this is not a municipal issue. Here is more from councillors during the debate here this morning.
I have met many people who have been working in the vehicle for hire economy who have shared that this is their main source of income, and it should be able to be a good job and decent work. And over the past few years, whatever that commitment or that promise was that first got them on the app has dwindled.
This came from a cap on vehicle for hire, and today we're talking about wages. And that's what the report is in front of us today. And, you know, it would be my view, and maybe some of yours as well, that the amount of time and energy that we have spent, the precious and valuable staff time that we have spent from the fantastic folks in MLS to come up with more reports on things that we don't even have legislation or jurisdiction over, that's puzzling to me.
I don't understand what our problem is saying, folks, it's great to take an Uber, it's great to take a Lyft. People like to do it, but really and truly, here's what's happening to all of those drivers. Motions to be introduced, so we'll do that.
And City Council has this morning now voted to ask city staff to come up with an intergovernmental communications campaign advocating for higher wages for rideshare drivers. Reporting live in the chamber, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Smash and grab robberies at jewelry stores continue to be a concern across the GTA.
In response, police presence has been stepped up and information sessions are being held to improve safety for shoppers. CTV's Raheem Ladani has the latest.
With holiday shopping in full swing, malls are busy, shelves are stocked, and jewelry has proven to be a prime target for thieves. In York Region, there have been 13 reported jewelry store robberies this year, compared to 7 in 2023.
It's too easy for them to do that. They took about 5 to 8 minutes.
Richard Chen was working at Hillcrest Mall in Richmond Hill when a daytime robbery was captured on camera 2 weeks ago. A group of suspects smashed the display cases at People's Jewelry Store. An employee was assaulted. 4 suspects fled with the stolen merchandise and still have not been caught.
My wife was here. She asked me to run. I feel maybe they didn't have gun. So I take a look at them. They just grab the things easily, too easy, you know. So I think the police should do something.
Along with the investigation, York Regional Police have activated the Traumatic Incident Response Protocol. It means having a visible presence at malls and engaging with shoppers to gauge their feelings of safety.
Well, you need to communicate and make people aware of what they can do. I'm not comfortable about it because it happens too many times, and then the one at Markville Mall was a repeat.
CF Markville was also the target of a smash-and-grab robbery earlier this month. Cell phone videos show at least 10 people breaking glass cases with hammers to steal jewelry. In that incident, 6 suspects have been arrested.
These thieves are coming in with the explicit purpose of getting in and getting out. They're taking the precautions of wearing masks, of wearing gloves, of having getaway drivers and lookouts posted at exits nearby. So the last thing they want to do is get caught, which means they're not looking to have an interaction with you.
Police say shoppers are generally not the target, and malls are a safe place to enjoy. But there are steps people can take to protect themselves.
If you've got lots of parcels that you've purchased, consolidate, get them all into one bag. Don't advertise that you've got a good lot of product on you. If you're going to be putting them in the car, make sure that they're not visible.
Police will also be at Markville Shopping Center beginning Wednesday.
That report from CTV's Rahim Ladani. To another story now, 56-year-old Anita Moy was reported missing in August. Days later, her remains were found in Parry Sound.
Now, 2 men are facing charges in connection with her death, while the man accused of the killing remains at large. CTV's Sean Leathong has the latest.
Since the killing of Anita Moy last August, there have been arrests, but a lack of justice for the slain Markham realtor.
Fortunately, now we can say that we have arrested 2 more parties and that this investigation is another step at getting closer to some level of closure.
York Regional Police announcing the arrests of 24-year-old Abid Kujani of Oshawa and 19-year-old Oscar Liang of Toronto, each facing 7 charges, including manslaughter for Liang and indignity to a human body for Kujani. York Regional Police say they've been working this case extensively for the past 4 months.
And it's really been a lot of man hours that have been put in that have led to us being able to identify additional suspects.
She was known for selling luxurious residential and commercial properties. Moy was reported missing by her family back on August 9th. Later that day, her white Mercedes-Benz was located at Finch and Warden. 3 days later, her burned remains were discovered in Parry Sound. In the aftermath, 3 youths were arrested for possessing the victim's property, while the main suspect in the case, 47-year-old Zhejiang Marco Hu of Markham, is facing a Canada-wide warrant but is believed to have fled.
Canada Border Services Agency has confirmed to our investigators that Zhejiang Marco Hu, a 47-year-old from the city of Markham, has traveled to Hong Kong.
When asked if the suspects are connected through organized crime, police say,
This time, investigators have been able to determine that everybody that we've arrested is aware and has a connection to at least one other person. But looking at the whole group of it as an organized crime network would be oversimplifying any levels of relationships.
Investigators are trying to determine exactly how those arrested actually know each other.
Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Premier Doug Ford struck a conciliatory tone on trade talks with the U.S. during an interview on CNN last night.
Both sides of the border are going to feel the pain. We rely on each other. Ontario is a big auto province, and I want to work with the U.S. I love the American people. I spent 20 years of my life there in Chicago, in our Chicago facility in New Jersey. I love Americans. I love the U.S., and we're so much stronger together.
Ford reiterated his threat to cut off energy to New York, Michigan, and Wisconsin. However, he says China remains a major issue, claiming Chinese goods are infiltrating both Canadian and American markets through Mexico.
The concern in Ontario and across the country is Donald Trump's threat to impose 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods. The president-elect putting pressure on Ottawa to step up security at our border. And today, Donald Trump had a message for Canadians suggesting once again we should become part of the United States. Trump posted this on his Truth Social platform saying, quote, "No one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of more than $100 billion a year. Makes no sense. Many, 100 million rather, Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. They would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it is a great idea. 51st state." This morning, the U.S. House of Representatives Border Security Caucus suggested the comment was made in jest.
Trump's latest comment about Canada comes amid uncertainty over the political future of the Prime Minister. There are growing calls among Liberals for him to step down. But at the caucus holiday party last night, Trudeau showed no signs that he's ready to call it quits.
It has been an eventful couple of days. It hasn't been easy, and that's why I'm so happy to see you guys. You know, it's hard not to feel happy when we're like this, among Liberals, among family, because that's what we really are, a big family. Now, like most families, sometimes we have fights around the holidays. But of course, like most families, we find our way through it.
The party was also attended by former Deputy and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. It was her sudden resignation Monday that resulted in the growing calls for Trudeau to step aside. The PM is said to be taking time to reflect on Freeland's decision and what he's heard from caucus members. The House of Commons adjourned yesterday for the holiday break.
Canada Post workers remain on the job one day after being ordered back to work, but that return to work didn't go smoothly at some processing plants.
Of their own volition, other labor movements have come together to stop work happening at the PPC.
Workers at the Pacific Processing Centre in Richmond, British Columbia, were met with solidarity lines from other unions. A similar scene unfolded at this processing facility in Halifax, and while those blockades eventually ended, the return to normal is still a long way off.
It is a little bit too close to Christmas time for orders to get out on time, for customers to receive them prior to Christmas. However, this does provide some sort of respite for the business community.
Service guarantees are being suspended and packages won't be accepted until Thursday. The Crown Corporation says package delays could last well into January. And CTV's Scott Hurst joins us with the very latest on this. Scott, talk to us more about how union members are reacting to being ordered back to work.
Michelle, ultimately the union is not happy with this and is fighting the order at the CIRB and also says it plans to do so in court. And as you mentioned, as we saw some workers at certain facilities initially going against the back to work order from the Canada Industrial Relations Board. And we also saw these solidarity picket lines, meaning workers from other public sector unions joining the fight, upset over the order to go back to work, saying the CIRB ruling is unconstitutional. And as workers do return to the job, that is the same message from CUPW, the Postal Workers Union, arguing once again the government has overstepped, tipping the scales in the favor of the employer. The union says, as I mentioned, it'll fight the CIRB order. All of this as the Industrial Inquiry Commission will soon get underway in the new year to review the issues, attempt to bridge the gap in demands, and make recommendations about how to amend the collective agreements and try to find and carve out a viable future for Canada Post as well. So union members may be back on the job, but the union itself is fighting this ruling and ultimately not happy with the union, with the ruling to go back to work.
Meantime, it is crunch time before the holidays. A lot of people weighing whether it's even worth mailing things because there is so little time. What can consumers expect when it comes to Christmas deliveries? When might things be back to normal?
Michelle, lots of crunch time to say the least, as there is a huge backlog to get through first, let alone everything else that people want to go out now. And so what Canada Post is saying, Canadians need to have patience right now. That might be a hard thing to think about, as many Canadian businesses have been waiting for 4 weeks to get their product out to market, and many Canadians this time of year looking to ship things, whether it's gifts, letters, or packages around the country. But Canada Post is saying Canadians need to have patience, no service guarantees right now, and Canada Post says Canadians should expect delivery delays to continue not just through the remainder of the year, but also into January as well. So first up is to get through the massive backlog that's just beginning right now, everything that's already been in the system since the strike began in mid-November. New commercial parcels and letters, Canada Post says, will not be accepted until tomorrow. So first, a lot to get through that's already in the system, and then get things back to normal with the demand that needs to go out as well. So no service guarantees right now. So getting something in time for Christmas, nothing guaranteed about that for sure, as delays will continue into the new year, Michelle.
CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And with Christmas just 1 week away, a local charity is helping to make sure families can enjoy a turkey dinner with all the fixings.
Roughly 1,000 holiday dinners are being donated. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live with more on the turkey drive. Beth.
Nathan, you can see a whole bunch of the turkeys here. In all, 1,000 turkeys have been donated by the Good Vibes Foundation, and this effort is certainly spreading a lot of good vibes. Families receiving these turkeys are happy and grateful. It's a mega haul of turkeys to make this season merry across the GTA.
Today, with the Good Vibes Foundation, we are helping 1,000 families by donating 1,000 turkeys to these families across the Toronto Catholic District School Board and Durham.
The truck full of 12 to 15-pound turkeys is making the rounds at more than half a dozen schools and community centers where families in need can pick them up. This stop at Monsignor Percy Johnson Catholic Secondary School in Etobicoke.
Oh, wow. In fact, I even had to take permission from my school to come over here to take the turkey. I'm so grateful. I say, may God bless the people that brought this turkey for us.
The next stop, James Cardinal McGuigan Catholic High School in North York. It's receiving 200 turkeys for its families.
It feels amazing giving back to the community and our kids. They're really special kids and families, and we care for them each and every day, but in the Christmas spirit, giving them turkeys is extra special.
The Good Vibes Foundation says the turkeys were made possible with partners and donors.
We've noticed food bank usage has doubled since 2019 across Canada, and we've also seen a lot of families asking me personally, where's my next meal going to come from? Cost of living's rising.
And its focus is on food insecurity and mental health. The turkeys are halal. The turkey truck has left this school here in North York. It's off to Pickering, Ajax, and Oshawa this afternoon. Here, families can come by anytime between now and 2 o'clock. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. And 2 astronauts stuck at the International Space Station are going to be spending even more time up in orbit. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore traveled to the station, you'll remember this story, in June for what was supposed to be an 8-day mission. But their stay was extended by 8 months after the Boeing Starliner capsule was deemed unfit to return them to Earth. Now the duo will be at the orbiting lab for at least 1 more month. They will come home aboard a capsule now scheduled to arrive in late March. That launch was originally slated for February, but was delayed to give teams time to complete processing on a new Dragon spacecraft. Jess.
Not a bad day as we mark the middle of the week, still sitting just above that seasonal mark, but it's a little gloomy. We're watching for kind of a wet snow mix, so give yourself extra time for that commute, whether you're driving or taking transit. Now, we're holding on to a fairly moderate wind as we kind of reach that midpoint of our afternoon. Later on, though, it gets a little gusty, so keep that in mind. It will make it feel just a little cooler. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including temperatures taking a nosedive just in time for the weekend. No doubt a busy one as we get ready for the holidays. All those details after the break.
All right, another cloudy, windy day, but we can at least say that the days will start to get longer in a few days.
Definitely. Oh, it's just nice looking at Nathan Phillips Square there. A lot of people maybe have already started their holidays.
Yeah.
A lot of people get off early to their destinations. It's an exciting time of year, and already it's a week to Christmas.
It really is hard to believe we're just a week out, and a lot of folks don't have snow right now in the GTA, or if you had the snow, it melted with the rain we've seen over the past few days, and that continues throughout the day today. We are going to see more sunshine into the weekend, but it comes at a price with a much cooler kind of forecast as we step in towards these final few days before the holiday season. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Now, temperature-wise, it's not the worst out there, but we just don't have a lot of sunshine. So it's kind of a trade-off. We hold on to the cloud cover, and it acts like that lid on us, kind of holding in some of the warmth in these above seasonal temperatures, but it is not going to last. And as we head in towards the end of the week and the weekend, the cloud kind of moves out, the cold weather moves in, and it is going to be absolutely freezing. So just your heads up to pack on some of those layers as we make our way into the next couple of days. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 3 right now. It feels like 0, so there's just a hint of a wind chill, but everybody, kind of for the most part in southern Ontario anyways, relatively mild. Anywhere north of us, the extreme opposite, but eventually that cold air is coming down towards us here in the GTA. As we head throughout the afternoon, really no change with that daytime high temperature. We'll sit around 3, it'll feel around 1. Really breezy into the afternoon. We're watching for that wet snow off and on, so not likely to accumulate, but just kind of messy out there. So give yourself extra time out there on the roads. Now, into this evening, yes, it is much cooler, but we're still sitting above that seasonal norm. It'll feel like -8, the seasonal average is -7, and we'll see a more northerly flow to the winds as we head through the overnight. A more northerly flow means much colder air, and we are going to start to slowly see a cool down towards seasonal and then well below. We're watching this right now. These cold fronts kind of make their way across, pushing just a little bit of light snow, more so towards those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. For the GTA, the downtown core, it's just a wet snow kind of day. So don't let the blue on the map kind of deceive you. It is just more mixing because we're still on that positive side with our temperatures. As we head in towards the early afternoon, though, a lot of this starts to move out. And although we don't see a break in the cloud, at least we see a break in the active weather. So kind of a treat for your drive home. It won't be as messy out there. Into our Thursday, we see a little more sunshine throughout the day, but not any more warmth, and we are going to start to trend closer to seasonal and then well below as we head in towards your Saturday and Sunday. Into Friday, because it will be a little bit cooler, watching for those flurries to kind of stick around a little bit. We're not looking at a significant accumulation, but a good idea just to give yourself extra time for that commute if you're heading anywhere. I know it's a busy Friday, a lot of folks heading out of town before the holiday season. Temperature-wise today, again, we're just above seasonal for that daytime high and overnight low. Tomorrow, probably as close as we're going to be over the next couple of days. And then we get into your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it gets cold. We're looking at just -2 for your Friday. So again, as that cold front comes through in a more northerly flow to the wind, we'll see those more consistent flurries. By no means a significant snow event. So for the folks in the downtown core, you're not likely to see that kind of white Christmas just yet. If you're further west, you'll see a little bit more in the way of consistent snow. We kick off the meteorological winter season on Saturday, and it is going to be sunny but very cold. -8 for the high. That -17 will feel closer to -25 when you factor in the wind chill. Frostbite, obviously an issue when it gets that cold. Nice and sunny but cold on your Sunday and your Monday, but as we head in towards Christmas and the holiday season for a lot of folks, there's the chance we could see a little light dusting of snow. Nathan, Michelle, I'll send it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
A convicted con artist has repeatedly bilked would-be tenants by posing as a landlord, often with Airbnb rentals.
In part 2 of his 3-part series, W5's John Woodward investigates why she's been able to repeatedly commit crimes.
If you're looking to get into the market in 2024.
Jacob Handy's social media business is making videos for those who want to improve their image online.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, okay.
But the young businessman's experience trying to find a home in Oshawa recently was anything but picture perfect.
Pretty tough out there looking for a place.
Yeah, it is.
So when Handy found a listing for this home, he jumped at the chance and toured it with a woman he thought was the landlord, who called herself Amelia.
When you were there, did anything feel wrong?
You know, not much.
He paid a $1,000 deposit, but when he showed up to move in,
knock on the door, and then a gentleman answered the door with his father and said, "Hey, can I help you?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm supposed to be moving in this unit." He's like, "Oh, you're the 5th person that has been doing this."
That must have been a shock.
It was a shock.
Handy looked at his payment records. The money didn't go to Amelia, but to a woman named Colleen Hull, a convicted con artist who court records show was accused of doing something like this to more than 50 victims, almost every month for years, possibly taking advantage of a tight market with high rents.
It's really sad, but rental scams are very common nowadays.
Realtor Summer Morrissey checked for the name of the home's real landlord.
That is not Colleen Hall.
Correct.
For me, it's shock.
We tracked down the real landlord over the phone. She said the home is a short-term rental through Airbnb. Her receipt says someone named Tyrell booked it at the time. We're not identifying him because the real Tyrell tells us he had nothing to do with it.
Do you think if you'd seen the name Colleen Hall come up on the app, you might have looked it up and then thought twice about accepting the booking?
To be honest with you, we pretty much trust Airbnb.
Airbnb is a multi-billion-dollar company with millions of listings, the largest short-term rental platform in the world. It requires your ID when you sign up, part of its identity verification system. But even so,
does that look like Colleen Hall to you?
Not at all.
We want to check out this verification system, so we're going to start our own Airbnb account.
we provided the site with my real ID, but then something strange happened. We tried to use an AI-generated picture. That sailed through no problem. And as for my name, the site has no problem with me being named Big Bird. And yes, we're verified.
Well, if you assume that the platform has vetted this individual, then chances are you're going to be disappointed.
Claudio Popa is the CEO of Data Risk Canada. He says the site may know who provided it with ID, but it should be sharing that with hosts so they know who they're dealing with.
And that's definitely not enough in situations where information is being processed and financial transactions are taking place.
Airbnb says it keeps real customer information on file and knows who its customers are, even if its landlords may not. It also has rating systems that hosts can rely on. Tyrell's account was poorly rated. The company says it's deleted that account.
I thought that you had to provide some form of identification.
We used an AI-generated picture and the name of fictional characters. Do you think that's okay?
I don't think that's okay at all.
Andy wishes either the landlord or Airbnb had been checking who they were dealing with before he lost $1,000 and a promising place to live.
And in part 3, John investigates how a system that is supposed to get fraudsters to pay back what they stole is millions behind in collections. That story will air tonight on CTV National News.
Coming up, getting the right medicine. A new study looks at the inappropriate use of antipsychotic drugs in long-term care homes. More on that after the break.
A new study using data from the Canadian Institute for Health Information shows a shockingly high number of long-term care residents are on antipsychotic medications.
And as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, researchers say many don't need to be on them.
The study by the Appropriate Use Coalition looks at the inappropriate use of antipsychotic medications in long-term care residents.
These common ones are like risperidone, Haldol, is what the name people might have heard, clonazepine. These are common meds that are in this group of antipsychotics.
And Dr. Wendy Levinson says they are frequently used in patients with dementia, but no psychiatric illnesses.
They have a place in patients who have psychiatric disturbances, but they're commonly used in dementia when people have agitation or become a little bit anxious. And we know that they don't help in that situation, but they cause harm. Falls, fractures, there's even some effect on mortality.
The group Choosing Wisely Canada says pre-pandemic, Canada had been working on reducing inappropriate use of these drugs, going from 27% to about 20% of long-term care residents being prescribed antipsychotics without a diagnosis of psychosis.
And then they rose and they're back up at over 24.5%. So those are the numbers.
Some of the most common medications are quetiapine and aripiprazole. Levinson says a more appropriate way to handle dementia-related agitation is by modifying behavior.
Do they need someone with them because they're feeling confused, helping them to, feel more oriented? So a behavioral approach.
But she admits staffing shortages are already a common problem. What to do if you have concerns about your loved one?
It is always appropriate for family members to ask about any of the medications their loved one is on and ask the question, can we remove some of these?
Many seniors are on multiple medications, and reducing the number reduces chances of interactions and often results in better quality of life. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new report warns the number of family doctors in Canada is still not keeping up with our growing population. The Canadian Institute for Health Research says while the number of family doctors is rising, the rate of growth has slowed. Many of those family doctors are also seeing fewer patients. Reasons for that include the aging population and patients with more complicated health issues that require longer appointments.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Toronto's benchmark stock index slipped this morning. Details in the rest of your business headlines after this short break.
Stocks were mixed in morning trading as investors around the world awaited the next Federal Reserve decision on interest rates.
Andrew Bell of BN Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Toronto's benchmark stock index slipped this morning while the US S&P 500 was slightly higher. Investors were betting on another interest rate cut in the United States, even though American inflation has decelerated more slowly than anticipated and the economy remains resilient. Shares in food giant Nestle hit their lowest since 2018. Stifel analysts warned of a challenging year ahead amid, quote, skyrocketing input costs for raw materials such as cocoa. Nestle, whose brands include Kit Kat, has launched a protein drink billed as providing, quote, hunger support. It's claimed to induce the natural production of the hormone GLP-1, which creates a feeling of fullness. And finally, Walmart shares have surged more than 80% this year. The gigantic retailer is known for discount prices, but it's also expanding in advertising and online sales. One money manager says Walmart, quote, has the growth and margin expansion that some names in the tech sector envy. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BN Bloomberg.
Two Japanese automaking titans are in talks about a possible merger. Honda and Nissan said in a statement they've been in discussions, but they've offered no details or time frame on when a deal might be reached. Both companies have struggled this year with Nissan's operating income dwindling. Meanwhile, Honda, which is roughly 5 times the size of Nissan, has also faced challenges.
A 2-month break from paying the HST on some items in Ontario took place over the weekend, but there remains some confusion over what's covered.
The tax holiday offers savings on children's clothing and toys, as well as restaurant meals, but some restaurants have still been charging the tax. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
They caught me by a huge surprise. So at first, the waitress was saying that this is my first time hearing it.
Vicky Hoy of Unionville says she was at a fine dining restaurant with friends on the weekend for a birthday party. When the bill came, they were surprised to be charged the HST, even though the restaurant was not supposed to be collecting it.
The waitress was not aware of the program. And secondly, the hospitality manager didn't even bother to investigate and jumped to the conclusion so quickly.
The next day, they complained to the general manager of the restaurant, who agreed mistakes had been made. Hoy showed us a copy of her bill that does show her group was charged more than $40 HST, but we're not naming the restaurant. They apologized, said it was a mistake, refunded the taxes, and gave her a $75 gift card. Under the new GST-HST tax holiday rules until February 15th, tax should not be charged on prepared foods, restaurant meals, some snacks, and alcoholic beverages.
It's a great idea, but it has been rolling out with confusion and frustration.
The Ontario Restaurant, Hotel and Motel Association says any restaurant that does collect tax over the next 2 months could be investigated by Revenue Canada.
If a business who doesn't comply and charge GST, HST, and it's discovered, you'll be investigated by CRA for noncompliance.
Restaurants Canada also told CTV News businesses should not charge GST, HST on qualifying goods and services. We advise restaurants to offer the GST and HST holiday. Hoy says she's satisfied now, but wanted to make sure that restaurants are following the tax policy.
They did try their best to make things right. So I appreciate that.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
88 Canadians who have made significant contributions to this country are being appointed to the Order of Canada. And here's a look at some of the notable recipients. The Governor General's office says actor Ryan Reynolds has captivated audiences worldwide, notably writing, producing, and starring in the wildly successful Deadpool films. Off-screen, he supports Canadian causes, including Water First Nation, Covenant House of Vancouver, and Sick Kids Foundation. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is being honored for being a team player on and off the football field. The Super Bowl champion suspended his professional career to provide frontline COVID-19 support here in Canada. He also uses art and sports to promote educational success among school-age children. And Kevin Martin has also been appointed. He's widely recognized as Canada's all-time greatest male curler. Martin helped guide the sport's competitive development, including the establishment of the Grand Slam of curling.
The Leafs return to the ice tonight, taking on the Stars in Dallas.
And the rebound picked up by Tatum. Drops it back to Tavares. Shoots, scores! John Tavares again! And the Leafs have grabbed the lead!
John Tavares led the way with his 14th career hat-trick as the Leafs won their last game 5-3 in Buffalo. Tonight they take on a Dallas team that has won 2 straight.
Meanwhile, the Toronto Scepters visit the New York Sirens in tonight's only game on the Professional Women's Hockey League schedule. The last-place Scepters have 1 win and 2 losses in 3 games. Third-place New York has a win, an overtime win, and a loss. Coming up, it was a happy accident. A marine videographer is in awe of what his underwater camera captured by mistake. That story after the break.
It was a whale of a tale after an accidental video was shot by a camera that sunk to the bottom of the sea.
CTV's Adam Sawatsky has the story of the breathtaking encounter.
A bit of overcast and calm water.
Before it turned into an extraordinary day,
Went down to the dock.
Peter Maris says it began being quite ordinary.
This is the 360 camera.
The underwater videographer was trying to see if he could tie this new camera to that old fishing pole and reel it in and out of the ocean when the line broke.
I thought, that sucks.
But before Peter could dive down to fetch it, a flock of birds and a herd of sea lions started feasting on a school of anchovies.
A little bit like a National Geographic moment.
Until the unexpected arrival of a humpback whale
Holy
turned the moment into a lot like one.
Oh, man, it was thrilling.
And that's when Peter's wife and partner at Rendezvous Dive Adventures, Kathy Johnson, started recording the whale joining the hunt too.
I mean, anything that size, that close, it almost took your breath away.
Their dog, Sam, was equally astounded. And after 2 hours of watching in wonder what was unfolding above the water, Peter retrieved that camera that had sunk and was shocked to see what had been recorded under it.
And we're going like, oh my Lord. This is a once in a lifetime.
We just burst with glee, you know? Watched it over and over again just because we couldn't believe what we were seeing.
And while the couple was struck by how gracefully and thoughtfully the big whale swam around their dock in such shallow water, they were also filled with gratitude that fishing rod experiment ultimately failed.
Failure is just another step towards success.
So why get frustrated when things don't go according to plan, they say, because you just might find things turn out even better than you could have conceived.
One way to get amazing things is if you take the risk, and so you got to try because you just never know.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News.
An iconic ship based on the popular children's television show Theodore Tugboat has partially capsized. Theodore II's owners say the 20-meter tugboat began taking on water at Ontario shipyards in Hamilton and is now resting on the bottom. Crews are working on a refloating plan. Theodore II, which was a fixture in Halifax Harbor for 21 years before he was moved to Ontario. Hope they get it back up.
That looks look so sad. You got to shield kids' eyes. No, Theodore, what's going
like
on?
My childhood. Like you're just sitting there chilling. Well, the weather doesn't look too bad there, so hopefully they can get that all sorted out. But really, across southern Ontario, over the next couple of days, we're going to see this dramatic shift with our temperatures. We get kind of close to seasonal, and then we go well below. So just a heads up as we head into the weekend, you're going to need all of the layers. It's a busy travel weekend. Right now, so watching for those wet flurries out there, nothing really accumulating on the ground. It's just a mess if you're outside. We're sitting at 3 degrees right now. It still feels like 0, and everybody's still, for the most part, on the positive side. But we are starting to trend a little cooler. You're going to feel that chill in the air as we head throughout the day. As we head in towards your Thursday, a little more sunshine, but a lot less warmth. We're holding on to just a daytime high of -1, but it's pretty close to seasonal. As we get into Friday, that -2, not so bad. We watch for light flurries, but overnight we get into those minus double digits, and we stay there right through to the end of the weekend.
All right, thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Duguay.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.